Okay, and what I want to do in this video is continue on from where we left off. So now I'm going to go on to question 10. And question 10 on the worksheet is on the graph paper below, draw the demand curve from question 7. Now, if you forgive me, okay, because I find it difficult to kind of keep everything in view on the camera, but let's see what we can do here. Hopefully I can give you a better view. All right, so what we've got, give me a sec. Okay, what we've got here is, this is the info from question 7, right? And we need to have a demand curve. We need to have a graph that goes from 25 up to 75 and from 50 up to 150 at least, okay? So that's what we've got to make sure that we scale our axes on our graph to take those into account, all right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm probably going to go up in tens here. So let's see if you can see that, yeah. So this here is 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, and 150. Okay, so that means that we've done everything that we need to do in order to get the quantities right. Okay, so the quantities, we have all the range of quantities that we need. Now, just to be clear, again, you will only ever be asked to draw a linear demand curve in your IB. That means it's a straight line. And what you need to draw a straight line are just 2 points. Okay, so I don't need all 3, but just for the sake of kind of, I don't know, completeness, I will draw all 3. Now, all 3 points. Now I'm going to go up in, well, let's try this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be 20. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 40. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 50. 2, 3, 4 is 60. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 70. 2, 3, 4 is 80. Okay, so that's 80. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and 80 is already drawn there, just at the very top of the screen. So what I'm going to do is bring this down a little bit just so you guys can see the whole region that I'm going to be drawing. Okay, so back to this. So at a price of 25, the quantity demanded is 150. Okay, so now here's 20, so that means here's 25. So it goes straight across this line all the way until I reach 150, which is just 2 more in, and there's 150. Okay, so there's 25 and 150. At a price of 75, the quantity demanded, excuse me, I'm trying to make sure you can see this. At a price of 75, the quantity demanded is 50. So what I'm going to do now is going to go back to this. I'm going to say, okay, here's 75. Going to go across from this line, and then I'm going to go up from this line, and then there's that point there. Now, right, I'm going to just draw the line, and then hopefully, and again, remember, I am drawing this in pen just so it's easier to see on the camera. For you, it's absolutely perfect to draw it in pencil. Now, the last bit, which is the bit in the middle, was at a price of 50, the quantity demanded was 100. Okay, so we need to go from 50 across, and let's just go straight across this line, which is here. And if we go down, and I've drawn it right, boom, it's 100. So I have drawn this line right because all 3 of these points should be on it. Okay, that is question 10. Now, on to question 11, which is here. So question 11 says, and again, forgive all the adjustments, I'm trying to make sure you guys can see it, okay? On the graph paper below, draw the demand curve from question 8. Well, question 8 says this, okay? So we have worked out all of these different points. Now, there's no way in heck, oh, bad language from me, that I'm going to draw all of those. The first thing I want you to see is this, okay? At a price of 0, we've already worked this out, quantity demanded is 200, okay? So what this A figure is here is where the demand curve crosses the quantity axis, okay? So what I'm going to do now is, I think if I go just quickly, forgive me here, I'm just going to work this out. And the reason why I didn't like already scale these before the video was because I wanted you to see how I worked it out. So look, I know, and I actually don't really need to, but I'm going to do it anyway, that I want to get this axis to be 200. So I'm going to go 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. That's not going to work. Okay, going up in tens. So if I go up in 20s here, 20, right, so if I go 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 20, 40, 60, 80, 200. Now you could be saying, okay, John, why didn't you go up in like, 3 grids across or something like that? You don't want that. You want all the important things to be on the line so you can just easily verify them. You don't want to be guessing it. So this is 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. Okay? Now, at a price, well, I mean, it really doesn't matter, okay? But let's take the 10 and 170 here. So at a price of 10, so I mean, actually that's not a bad point. I need to go up to 60. So I'm going to go up 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 60, and for completeness 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's 70. So this is the price of 10, price of 20, price of 30, price of 40, price of 50, price of 60, and price of 70. Okay, and I do realize, just to be clear here, that there is no price of 70 on it. I'm just, whatever. Right, so at a price of 0, we've got an easy one here. And again, how do we have it? Because we know from this equation that it's 200 minus 3p. So we know that at a price of 0, even if we didn't work it out, which we did, but even if we didn't, all right, quantity demanded at a price of 0 is going to be 200. That's what that 200 means. That 200 there, that number on its own, that means that that's where it cuts the quantity axis. And then I did say that I do at a price, well, I will do at a price of 10, okay, which is here, and I'll go out to 170. Okay, and then it's here. So at a price of 10 is 170. Now, it is a lot easier if you have dots that are further apart, and I wouldn't advise this, okay? So forgive me if this doesn't work out perfectly, but it does seem to work out perfectly. No, maybe not at all, in fact, but anyway, we'll do our best. Okay, so and I'm not changing this video because I just want to show you what another reason that we can take from this is that you don't do these things in pen. Now, looking at this, at a price of 20, it's 140. So we go 20, and this should be 140, and it's not. Because I drew it badly, okay, because these things, look, I'm too far out on this dot, and therefore I didn't go through that one properly. So I'm going to do this a few times, and I'm going to show that, the teachers can mess up as well. At a price of 30, it's 110. Okay, so at a price of 30, we're suggesting this here. Now it's showing 100 when it really should be showing here. Okay, so that's 110 there. At a price of 40, it's 80. So I'll go across here. This should be 80, but it's not. This is 80. So I've drawn the first one badly. Okay, at a price of 50, it's 50. 50 units are bought. So 50 is here. That should be on the line. It's not. It's here. This is more accurate, okay? And at a price of 60, it's 20. And that's there. So this line here is incorrect. And this is why you never draw it in pen. And then we take out our ruler here and we do it properly. And this should be going through all of these lines. Now look, because I've taken my time to draw more than 2 lines, it's more accurate, okay? And that's the answer there. That's how you do it, all right? Do not draw it in pen. You're probably smarter than me. You might make the mistakes that I made, but such is life. Now, what it says here is use the information in the table to calculate the demand function. Okay. Now, the first thing I really want you to see is we have 2 things in a demand function. We have technically 4, but right. QD is the quantity demanded equals A, which is a number on its own, plus, I always write plus BP. Now, if it's demand, that is going to be a minus. Do not forget that. What we have already said is the A is that where it crosses the quantity axis. And this demand function is going to cross the quantity axis at a price of 0. So looking at this, we should know that 150 is demanded at 0. Therefore, we already know it's QD equals 150 plus BP. We are onto a winner already. We have literally done half the question. Now, the next thing is, well, what is B? Well, B is the slope, right? So B equals the change, don't forget the change, that triangle is the Greek letter delta, change in quantity, and quantity demanded if you want, divided by the change in price. Now, how do we get the change in quantity demanded? Well, it's Q2 minus Q1 over P2 minus P1. What this means is, and I'm going to try and make sure you can see everything that I'm talking about now, and you can, all right? And you can always cheat a little bit here as well. There is a little bit of a cheat, and I'll show you the cheat second, but I want you to see first. So what I'm saying to you is, as price goes from 1 to 2, this is P1 and this is Q1, okay? 120. As it moves to 2, this is P2, and this 90 here is Q2, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to shift this up just a little bit, okay? And we can still see it here, I think, and we can. Okay, the camera's a little bit behind what I'm doing, guys, so apologies. B equals Q2, we've already said that 90 is Q2, minus Q1, which is 120, all divided by P2 is 2 minus 1. So what we've got here is 90 minus 120, well, that is minus 30. Okay, don't forget that. And then divided by 2 minus 1, which is 1. So that equals minus 30. So now the whole answer to our whole equation is QD equals 150 minus 30P. Do not forget that. Okay, now there is a cheat which you could do is this, right? Which is just take the 0 as P1. Okay, and you can't always do this, but in this one you can because we have a 0 price and 0 quantity. So 0 as P1, 5 as P2, 150 as Q1, 0 as Q2. So what we've got then here is, and I'll just put this up a little bit, okay, we've got B equals, why not, Q2 minus Q1 over P2 minus P1. So what we've got here is we've already said that Q2 is 0 and Q1 is 150 divided by P2 is 5 minus 0, which is still 5. So you're going to get up minus 150 over 5, and again, minus 30 is the answer. Okay, so if you have a scenario set up like that, the cheat is you're just dealing, you can just essentially ignore two numbers. Okay, but that's how we do it. We have to find the A and then we have to find the B. Do not forget the B is the slope. Now, let's have an cracking look at this one here. Right. Let me see, make sure you can see it in the camera, and now I believe you can. Use the information in the table below to calculate the demand function. Okay, well again we can use the cheat, but the first thing is, what do? You always write down the demand function, A plus BP. Don't forget that B is going to be a minus, and you could ask, well, why aren't you writing it as a minus? And the reason is I don't want to confuse students, because sometimes they write it as minus, they're going to get a minus answer, and then they actually write it as a plus because a minus times a minus is a plus. Don't do that, okay? I think it's easier. Now, the first question is, should be easy. What is the A value? Well, the A value is 500. Okay, how do we know that? Because the A value is where it crosses the quantity axis, and it crosses the quantity axis at a price of 0. Price is 0 here, and then we're on to, at a price of 0, we have 500 would be used. Okay, plus BP. Right, now again, how do we calculate B? Now I'm just going to push this up and I'm going to use the numbers that you can see. Okay, well, B equals the change in quantity over change in price. And what's the change in quantity? Q2 minus Q1 over P2 minus P1. And again, you can choose any combination of numbers here. I'm going to go from 4 to 5. Don't know why, just kind of stood out to me for whatever reason. So 4 is P1. 300 is Q1, 5 is P2, 250 is Q2. Okay, so it's Q2, which is 250, minus Q1, which is minus 300, over 5 minus 4. I'll come down here. Okay, so what we have is minus 50 over 1, which is minus 50. So therefore, that equals B. That is our slope. What I mean by our slope is, if price rises by $1, quantity demanded will fall by 50 units. If price falls by $1, quantity demanded will rise by 50 units. So what we have here is QD equals 500, which is our A. Okay, we worked that out up there because we just read the table at the very top. Okay, at a price of 0, 500 is bought. Right now, minus 50p. That's the answer to that question. Don't forget how to calculate B. Don't forget what it is. In maths, it's the slope. Don't forget what it actually means in economics. If price rises by $1 or 1 unit of currency, it's how much quantity demanded will fall. Okay, now that's 13. On to 14. Okay. And again, I will be cheeky, who cares, right? I absolutely will be cheeky. But let's say we weren't. No, I won't. I'll cross this out. Let's say I don't know that that's 200. Let's say I'm not told that, okay? That's very important, right? So what are we going to do? Now I'm going to calculate B first, just to kind of get that out of the way, and then show you how I'll calculate A, right? So I'm going to do quantity demanded equals A plus BP. And then, like, I just think it's easier to go from one number to another, but what I just to show you that it can be done, I'm going to use 2 and I'm going to use 8. Okay, so 2 is P1. I'm going to write P1 and I'm going to write Q1 here for 160, and I'm going to write P2 and I'm going to write Q2. Okay, so B equals what? The change in quantity divided by the change in price. Well, what's the change in quantity? The change in quantity is Q2 minus Q1. And what's the change in price? The change in price is P2 minus P1. Right? I've already said this is Q2, so it's 40 minus 160. God, I hope I can do this maths in my head. Divided by 80 minus 2. Okay, so that, I believe, 40 minus 60 is minus 120, and then 8 minus 2 is 6, okay, and that is minus 120 divided by 6, and I believe that that is minus 20, okay, so B equals minus 20, all right, no problem. Now what we're going to do is we're going to write down QD equals A minus 20p. So let's say you weren't given the quantity demanded at a price of 0 and you had to work it out. Well, let's take a different number. I'm going to write this as P here and I'm going to write this as Q here. If I go, right, at a price of 5, we know 100 units are bought, okay? So instead of quantity demanded, I'm going to write down 100 equals A, because we don't know what that is, minus 20 times 5. Okay, now that equals 100 equals A minus 100. I'm going to bring this 100 over. 100 plus 100 equals A. I brought it over, so I change its sign. 200 equals A. What did we know already? We knew that 200 was A, because A is where it crosses the, I'll just show you here, the quantity axis. That would be 200 there. That's where it would cross, okay, at a quantity of 200. So we know then that the function, or the demand function, or the demand equation equals 200 minus 20p. Okay, no problem whatsoever.